All right. Welcome everyone to Beyond the Game panel, athletes as creators, investors, and media builders. So on today's panel, it is awesome who we have joining us today. We have Kevin McReynolds, the founder and CEO of Overnight Media Group. We have Michelle G, the president. I'm sorry. We just talked about how she's an original G. So Michelle G, the president of Players TV, and Marcus Jones, quarterback for the New England Patriots, my team, by the way. So very happy to have you here. Thank you so much, you guys, for all being here. Now, today's athletes are extending their influence far beyond competition, building careers and platforms across media, business, and community impact. And that's what we're really focusing on in today's session. For those of you who are unaware of what Overnight Media Group is, it is a Las Vegas-based sports tech company and digital streaming platform that specializes in live broadcasting and on-demand content for Olympic, niche, and collegiate sports. Now, as for Players TV, it's the first ever athlete-owned media network dedicated to sports lifestyle and entertainment, featuring original documentaries, comedy, and reality shows starring top professional athletes like Chris Paul and Travis Kelce. So with that, we're going to dive in right now. Kevin, let's just start with you. You were originally a Division I athlete. You made the switch over to entrepreneurship. When did you realize that your impact could be even greater off the field than it was on?
That's a great question. I think coming back for me, it started in college. I unfortunately suffered a couple of season-ending concussions when I was in my college days at UCLA. And I think from there, I started to have this shift of understanding of there's life outside of sports, and that I would have to, if I wanted to make it in life and wanted to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, I was going to have to think of how do I further myself and build something that I think would last beyond where football was currently my kind of like home, right? And understanding how to build that brand that I needed to do in that. And I think once I made that shift, it was the networking and the people and understanding that how that brand that I wanted to create, it was building in a way that was authentic to me and finding something else I was passionate in.
Well, speaking of athletes being passionate, Marcus, you are passionate about things that go far beyond football. You yourself are a creative mind and you are very interested in music and visuals. Talk to me about that passion, where it stemmed from, and when you realized that football could be a platform to help you really lean into that creative side.
Yeah, I would say, first off, man, I give all the glory to God for the first, thing of just how I ended up getting to where I am. You know, it was a lot of people that helped me get to where I am in the football space and everything, but I also had a great fan base and, circle, I would say, when it comes down to, always seeing things that's other than football. Like I said, I love the game of football, the hard work and the dedication that came down to it, but I also knew I love the creative side as well. So making sure that I was end up picking up a camera, I have friends that tell me, hey, you need to document, what you have going on in life. And I ended up falling into color grading when it came down to images and things like that. So I kind of got that bug. And for the people that know, it never stops. So I'm always learning with that in the creative space. Got into that and then wanted to just dive deeper into the sense of I started off with music production. So my dad had turntables at the house. So music has been something that my family loved, and got into recording, and then started recording even more music. And then I ended up picking up a camera, and I was like, man, I want to document certain things that's going on in my life, my son and things like that. And then, like I said, man, I got into that color grading spot, and now I'm trying to learn and geek out with you guys and everything out here at NAB. So this is my first time, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here. Now, Michelle, you listen to something like Marcus just said of an athlete leaning into content creation. Players TV really sets athletes up perfectly for things of that nature. For you, when did you realize that moving over to Players TV was the right move? What was so appealing about this space?
So first of all, shout out to Marcus for bringing his own posse. Okay. I need to do better at that. Let's see, front row. So anyway, again, I'm Michelle G. I'm the president of Players TV, but I also own 5%. And the bottom line, I was tired of making other companies really rich. So I had this amazing pedigree. I had to beg to have a seat at the table. I would give my ideas. They would be stolen. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Anyway, so this opportunity came along for me to advise the board but I kind of had a side hustle. I built a content creator company. So just so you guys know, there's about 200 million creators in the United States. 1% of those make over $1 million. All the other ones make under $15,000. So my passion for telling stories, for wanting to be and get what I'm worth in the marketplace allowed me to shift in as the president and part owner of Players TV and really create a model where our athletes, because think about it, they're already doing great things. You have a following base. You're just not getting paid for the things that you're passionate about. So we create a distribution backbone that allows our athletes to not only own it, tell their stories they're passionate about, but get compensated on the back end because we reach 300 million people. I'm going to come back more in case y'all are students and it's Sunday and it's early, but we'll talk more about that.
Well, I want to stick with you for a second because you just said the key word in distribution. A lot of that when we spoke earlier, you said that distribution is something that is quite often overlooked.
Yeah.
Why is that? And can you just talk about the importance of it?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. So when you think about a creator, right? Most creators, if I use an analogy, are renting space. They're decorating the house, they're painting it, they're fixing up the outside, but then they go move and someone else is going to get the benefit of that. So we're creating content. Even me, as I have 100,000 followers, I'm creating content, but someone else is making all the money from that. So what we have done is we've set up an amazing house that our athletes can be part owner of. So now they're getting paid for their content because we bring amazing brands along with that. And I'll talk more about that later, but distribution really is the king of this game because if you're creating great content and no one sees it, what does it matter? One, you're not changing people's lives. Praise God, right? You're not getting compensated for it and you're not leaving the legacy that you want to do. So distribution in this game is really important. Finally, what I say is when we think about the creative side, no one thinks about the back end business. No one thinks about, should I call Coca-Cola and tell them I want $500,000 for this content? Should I call, it's not the business that creators are in. And so we bridge that gap to introduce our athletes that are creating stuff from an ownership perspective, from a business perspective, and from a distribution perspective. And we're really proud of the work we're doing.
That's so cool. Now, Kevin, your streaming services and Overnight really focuses more on game coverage, production. We talked about some of the more niche sports. I went over to the website and looked at all that you guys have to offer. Do you see Overnight as something, as something that is disrupting the traditional sports streaming RSN type of space, or is it something that you're filling the void of, missed opportunities with some of these more niche sports and Olympic sports that don't get the coverage that they deserve?
I think a little bit of both. So when we look at Overnight and where we started when we built this company was more so filling a void because a bunch of my friends got home from the Olympics in 2021 and they had talked about how the traditional broadcasters did not care about water polo and did not care about those things. And so at UCLA, a lot of the football players are married to water polo athletes and they go on to win gold medals in the Olympics. They come back. No one cares about their sport because no one can see it. And so what we basically did in that time was we went out there and we found solutions of one, how do we improve the streaming quality? How do we improve building a community that these people can watch everything that they want in one place? And so the thing that's a little bit different about where we at Overnight think about it is one, we're going to build you a community. We're going to put all the content in one place to make it easily accessible. Two, what we're also going to do is we're going to focus on how we take your social media and we build into that as well. And then three, on the last end, which I'm really proud of, is we find a way to take the technology in the sport and put it into our platform. And so we go and acquire the data companies in those sports to help grow within that. And I think the only way that you can effectively grow some of these Olympic sports is one, to cut out all the friction that is. And I think Michelle and I had a conversation before. And if you go into other sports where there's 10 different companies, right? You go into basketball and youth basketball and there's 10 different streaming companies there. And then you have 10 different subscriptions that you have to watch your kid. Well, on Overnight, you get one and you can find everything you want in that sport, whether it's storytelling, the live content, and everything else in one place.
Well, you talk about kind of providing multiple assets for these teams and these leagues and tying into social media. Marcus, I'm interested for you, the support, and Michelle and I have talked about it too. It takes a village, right, to promote athletes and get them where they want to go in terms of promoting their content. For you, what has it been like, the support from the New England Patriots, them kind of allowing you to flourish in this creative space?
Yeah, it means a lot. usually whenever you're in the 1% of the 1%, you know, people want to kind of keep you in that box to where, hey, focus on football, do these things. But, you know, us athletes, we have other interests at hand ever since we're young or whenever you get older. So being able to, you know, have that support whenever I'm messing around with the camera, I'm sitting in front of DaVinci and I'm talking about color grading things, like they want to put those episodes out. And then, you know, that small thing ended up getting me connection with Black Magic. So now, you know, I have a connection with them and building relationships. So, you know, it's bigger than football, and it's always been. And I have an organization that helps me out when it comes down to anything connection wise. Whenever I have to talk to them about, hey, do you know these people over here? And they're like, hey, we don't, but we'll reach out. So having that organization it means a lot. And then also them seeing us not only as football players, because whenever we do scrap on a helmet on Sunday, yeah, we're doing our job. But I want to say, you know, 6 days out the week, we're doing community service when it comes down to helping out kids or, you know, doing things in the space of, you know, helping out the elderly and all types of things. But, you know, on Sunday, we love to play the game. But then again, you know, we have that organization that has our back to where we can also have those interests and they're supporting us. So it means a lot.
And how has your skill set as an athlete helped you on the content creation side, especially, you know, when it comes to paying attention to the fine details of things?
Yeah, I would say, man, that's a great question. Discipline. Man, whenever you're at the 1%, like I said, like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, you got to have some type of discipline, whether it's, you know, eating right. I'm not going to say I'm the healthiest person. I eat all over the place, but I will say I will get in that sauna and that steam room to get back right, because I'm not trying to lose my job. Okay. So, that's one thing. But, when it came down to, it was a lot of hours on YouTube, you know, not knowing things, asking a lot of questions from people that are professionals in their roles. So I would literally sit there and be on YouTube, learn it and everything, getting yelled at my girlfriend because I'm not filming her. And she was my guinea pig at the time of trying to get right. But eventually now all she wants me to do is film her. So she knows what my content looked like and everything. So it was a lot of practice that came down to it. Sacrificed a lot of time when it came down to, you know, other things of wanting to watch TV and everything. I was like, hey, it needs to be informative. And if it's not, then I'm not paying attention to it. So it took about 2.5, 3 years. And now I feel like, you know, I'm at a space where I feel comfortable, but always trying to learn more. And I'm always calling the guys that are my mentors and being like, hey, how can I get better? So.
Well, right. I want to just say one thing about that. So if you think about live sports, there's a very big difference between live sports and athlete content, right? Live sports are on 2 hours a day, but athletes are on 22 more hours that day. And when you think about engagement, because data is so important in this business, that people will engage, Marcus, more with you based on the things that you're passionate about, being in the community, spending on a thing, your family, your girlfriend, your kid, right? So they're more interested in that than all the other stuff. So if we post on Players TV that someone scored 50 points, I'm like, 3 likes. But if we say, oh, they just got over breast cancer and they're doing these great things and they're going to be an Olympic, and that's 5 million likes. So we've been paying attention. So I just wanted to tell you, you're a perfect candidate to be part of the Players TV family. I just want to say that. I'll call you about that.
Appreciate it.
Right. Because we're a channel partner to a lot of athletes that want to tell their story, because now you can reach so many more people and people are interested in that story.
I was going to say, how appealing is someone like Marcus for you in play?
Yeah. I mean, it's a two-way beneficial relationship, because our Players TV has the opportunity, because of our relationship with YouTube, to distribute over other athlete channels. So that means you get a bigger distribution. So Damian Lillard, we push content over his channel because we have a partnership agreement. It's a long story. Anyway, it's a good thing.
A lot to look forward to there. That's a partnership I want to see. All right, Kevin, you know, Marcus just talked about the discipline. For you, what skill set, very similar question, what skill set from being an athlete were you able to apply over when you were approaching building up overnight TV and just taking on entrepreneurship as a whole?
I think as an athlete, the things that will always stay with you is, one, the kind of grit and resilience that you kind of have towards dealing with situations. I had a coach that always said, be comfortable being uncomfortable and being able to thrive in that in uncomfortable situations. But I also think there's what I've always seen, especially on my journey, is being able to network with anyone. I think because you're in a locker room in college with 110 people or 120 people and all these people from different walks of life. And I think you have to find ways to, one, you don't have to like everyone, but you have to be able to work with those people, because you're all coming to work every day to accomplish a goal together. And I think being part of football and being part of big teams and those things have been really big and key in my career. And I think that's allowed me to be able to communicate and network and communicate and be able to work with anyone.
And Michelle, for you, what is it like working with athletes? They have big personalities, some of them. And, like Kevin just said, you don't have to like everyone necessarily, but you got to be able to work together. How has that balance been?
I think that has been amazing because all of the athletes, so we have 70 athlete investors in our platform and 3,000 fan investors. That's why we're one of one. But I realized that when athletes invested in our company, that means that they were invested in their ability to take their production companies, create content, and do all the things. So when somebody invests, that means they're going to be paying attention. And what I love is that they're allowing me to bring my 30-year pedigree, right? A&E in history, CNN, BET, built another network at BET, CEO of Ebony and Jet, work with Byron Allen, like all of these things that I've learned over my 30-year career. Clearly, I started when I was about 35 now. That is, they're allowing me to, bring that to the table and listening. The other thing I'll say is that when you have a day job, that's why I asked, we had a conversation about what you're building, and Marcus, we had a conversation that I think that you love your job, but you're passionate about the things you do outside of that. And when there is a passion point, you're more open to taking feedback, being in a room, listening, making time for it. Like, you're so busy, right? But you're going to make time if there's a big opportunity to get a big show and do great things. So I'm really proud of them and listening to a female. The last thing I'll say is that our female athletes are amazing because they're still underpaid and they still have underexposure. And we have been on a journey. I've taken some of our WNBA players, one of our softball players, AJ Andrews, Cheyenne Woods just became a partner of ours. And I'm taking them on business meetings so they can have a seat at the table. And that's really, really important for me because we still don't get a seat at the table when we should.
Absolutely. I want to stick with that, the female driven content and that hyper focus on that area, because again, it doesn't get the love that it deserves. Where do you see the most potential in that market?
Yeah, listen, I think that, the WNBA just did a great deal. One of our athletes, Monique Billings, just signed a Supermax deal for the first time with the Indiana Fever. I'm so proud of her and so excited about it. But I want people to understand it's not about them being a female athlete. It's about how people engage, follow, support, and lean into those athletes. So it's a great conversation piece because when one of our athletes shows up, I can't even it's amazing. Finally, on the business side, I don't know if you have a wife, girlfriend, somebody, but who makes the decisions in your household if you live with your girlfriend? I already know. So what we know is that women are following women athletes. And if a brand is trying to reach an audience where they want someone to spend and transact, they need to reach women. 80% of the brands need to reach women. So brands are really smart. So they're like, let me just connect with the female athlete because I know other females are watching. So it's a business decision. So not only is it good and it's the right thing to do, it's a monetarily smart thing to do because brands are following them and they're selling products on the back end.
Well, something you had mentioned earlier was the time, the investment in passion for these athletes. For you, Marcus, I know that you've also invested in the proper equipment, being that we're here at NAB and there are all sorts of tech setups across the convention center here. Let's talk a little bit about what kind of cameras and technology you've invested in to put out the best possible content.
Yeah.
Speak out.
Let me tell y'all something. Man, I started off with a Sony A7 IV, which hybrid camera was really nice. And as you know, that iPhone just start reading and it start hearing talks around you and you start talking about stuff. So all my feed was looking at greater images and I'm like, man, these images looking real good. So I got into the log space, turned in the A7 IV, I got an FX3. And I was like, no, this is real good. And, I was like, okay, cool. I got the base 800, low light 12,800. And I was like, okay, that's real good. But I have photography lenses and you guys know, if you want the best out of your camera, you got to start getting into the lenses. So people was like, the lenses get expensive. So I started going on B&H. Everybody know what B&H is. I started going on $10,000. No, not that one. Scroll up 5,000. No, where's that $400 ones? And no, so I got into that space and I had to spend a little bit more money and everything. So I invested in Vizio lenses and I will say as time went out, whenever I started looking more into color grading and stuff, you start seeing the shallow depth of field, the fall off in the highlights. And I was just like, I understand why, but, I'm going to start renting some stuff. If you don't rent it, then, you probably go broke. So, I learned that pretty quick, and everything. But as time went on, man, I will say the community is the most important thing because, you never want to do it by yourself. I'll ask questions to other guys that's done higher, production things than me. And I ask, hey, how do you like this? And they'll tell me about the pros and the cons of certain things. And it's been fun along the way. And like I said, man, I'm learning a lot. I got an FX6. I love that because it got the internal ND. I have the ZR, the Nikon ZR. I love that. But whenever I'm pulling it in into storage, the storage don't make no sense, y'all. And that's a whole nother thing. And then I got the Komodo X as well. So whenever I got like something I'm really passionate about, I'll pull out the red cameras. Other than that, you're not touching my red camera. So you will end up having Sony. Ain't nothing wrong with it. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Most people to the normal, I can't tell the difference, but it's been fun, man, for sure.
Oh, your passion for it. It's so great to see. And I absolutely love it. You're beaming. You light up when you talk about it. And that's how you know it's real. Now, Kevin, something you're passionate about with Overnight is bringing in people with experience in sports to tell these stories. Why do you think it's so important to have former athletes and people in those positions to tell the stories that we're seeing in these broadcasts and tell them properly?
I think anytime you go into a new space, so anytime we go into a new sport, we always make sure that we hire someone that was an athlete in that sport. And I think the reason why we do that is one, I want to understand the tradition of that sport. Two, I think it's being authentic to that sport and making sure that we're not overstepping. I think a lot of times when brands and people go into different spaces and where they get in trouble is they traditionally kind of jump into a space and don't really understand the foundation of why someone cares about that product or cares about that thing. And I think that from our perspective, when we work with these athletes, they're able to, one, they're bigger than what they traditionally are seen as. They're more than just an athlete. That's one. Two, I think on the other side of it, it's this willingness to go out into the community and to get feedback in a way that's more authentic that we would have never gotten if we would have gone into that space by ourselves. And then three, I think it's that infectious, passion for what they have for their sport. And I think that helps move our business forward in a more efficient way. And I think that's something I could never do unless I had those people working at Overnight. And we've been blessed to have athletes like Cedar Cunningham, who's an Olympian. We've had a professional water polo player on our staff right now, Madison Martinez, and other people. And we have a former professional soccer player, my director of operations, who is also a former, athlete. And so I think having those people and having those different perspectives has been just incredible for our business.
Now, Michelle, I want to go back to something you touched on earlier. Yes, you have athlete investors, but there are fan investors as well. What does that look like, and why is it so important to have that fan support?
I'll get to that, but I also want to say that, and we talked about this, one of the really great things that you're building, because when you bring those athletes in, is credibility. So they already know that it's good and right, and that you're building a legit business. And I want to say that is why it's so great working with these athletes, because most influencers really don't have a talent at one particular thing other than talking about themselves. Nope. If there's any out there, I'm sorry. You do a great job at that. But athlete, creators really have earned the right to talk about the things that they're talking right. And that credibility lends to, brands wanting to attach with them. So if we go back to our fans, investors, when you have 3,000 people say that I want to also be an entrepreneur, that I want to have an opportunity to build some type of wealth and invest in something, I think it's two-way. One, we're giving people an opportunity to do something, to invest. My son is 18. He plays basketball on his way to a D1 school, and he's an investor at 18 years old, an author and an investor. So we're teaching people to invest and not just watch, but participate. The other thing is that what's really important, I can go to 3,000 people and ask their opinion on something. You know how powerful that is? To say, hey, what do you feel? What do you think? What's the next thing? Technology, this and that. So to have a panel of 3,000 people, for me, is really valuable on the business side.
That's really cool. When you break it down like that and you actually think about that and the reach that has, that is very incredible. Now for you, Marcus, you touched on your future goals on our call earlier in the week and how you could possibly want to get into commercials, movies, even your own media group. Can you talk about that a little bit and what your vision for your future beyond football is?
Yeah, beyond football, man, there's a lot of things in the creative space that I love. I'm not going to just say it's just one thing. Like I said, I wanted to be a part of commercials, TV shows, films, and just learn along the way. I love the situation of DPing. I love the situation of people that are gaffers. When it comes to lighting, like, first off, I commend every person that got something to do with gaffering, because it could be night and y'all make it look like it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So that's a talent, something that people can't take away. And then also when it comes down to, shooting behind the camera, I've been in front of the camera and I love it and everything, but I don't really care about the spotlight. I love being behind the camera. I love building something from scratch and making it to a beautiful creation. So that's something I love as well. And then media company wise, man, I love, along the way helping people. Connection wise, not only, making something from scratch into a beautiful creation, but also like teaching them along the way, like, hey, what do you like to do? And, teaching like younger kids, hey, oh, okay, you want to do this? Well, I do know someone that's in this role that can actually mentor you. So let me go ahead and connect you with that person. And, you never know, you're one connection away from changing your life. So we learn that. And it's also whenever we see kids, whenever we're at football camps and we're doing these things, oh, you also do this? Like, kids most of the time just think this is our only job, and seeing that smile, and they like to do something else that's other than football or any other sport, like putting a smile on their faces. Yeah, you're allowed to do more than one thing. And I feel like there's more people in life that need to tell kids at a young age that you can do more, and have fun at doing as much as you can and everything, and then narrow down from then. I'm a big advocate when it comes down to do as much as you can until you narrow down to what's important to you, and then go from there.
Absolutely. Now, you kind of just touched on it, and we did a little bit earlier, but it does take a village. Michelle, I want to ask you, what does the ideal ecosystem look like for athlete-owned media in order for it to thrive, in order for Marcus to take on his own media company down the road?
Marcus, you want to do that? You just want to tell the story? Anyway, I'm messing with Mariah. I think what we built at Players TV will be studied at Harvard Business School one day, because it was so brilliant. Two guys got together, one on the sports management side. The other was a YouTube creator, had 1 million subscribers, which is like a big deal, right? He was Coach Colin. He don't even look like he can play basketball, but that's another story for another day. He was like one of the second followed shooting coaches. And then to turn that into a network that creates content with athletes, because there was a trend that athletes were building their own production company. So then that was part 2. Part 3 is then to buy an ad tech company. So now we have distribution on the back end. So what we're building is really amazing, and athletes can be a part of that journey as an owner, as a creator, understanding the back end distribution. So I want to say that we have set up a model for a lot of people to follow, look at, and witness. And then the last piece is, before we're all said and done, I would love an opportunity to train athletes to understand the business side of it, right? So what you're building is phenomenal. I asked you a couple questions. I'm going to send you an invoice for my amazing ideas. But I asked you a couple questions about, like, how are you building? And then, how are you using technology to bring a part of that? But can we train our athletes to understand the back end business of that? So if you want to be a producer, and then leverage our network of people, right? Because we have such a huge network of people that are in Hollywood, that are agents, that are in the corporate space. And how do we come together? Because what I've learned over this amazing career I've had, you cannot do it by yourself. And it does take a village in order to get to where you want to be. And we should be wanting to come together to expand and build and grow, because there is scale in success.
Absolutely. Now, content and the way we consume it is also evolving and growing with each passing day. Clips get quicker, attention spans get shorter. Kevin, has your approach to what a live sporting event experience broadcast looks like, has that changed at all with the way that we have evolved and the way we consume media?
So my background prior to starting Overnight was I ran business development for the largest meme company in the world. And so we had over 130 meme pages that we owned and operated, over 350 million followers. And most people, I'm sure, would be shocked to know that all the memes you see on the internet are probably run by 4 companies. But that experience that kind of gave me was understanding that in this concept of why we call overnight is anything that goes past 12 hours is no longer relevant, right? This concept of like us always putting out more and more clips is really important, because in this new generation, especially with Gen Z, their attention spans are in a second and it's gone. And at Overnight, it's about how we can grab that attention very quickly and give people what they want as fast as they want. And I think what's a little bit different about our platform compared to anything else is I'm putting tools in place to help you find the content you want faster, and you can move on with your day. Right? Where other platforms, they want you to stay and consume for as long as you possibly can. But I understand I have parents and I have grandparents and I have other people that are on, and I don't want them scrubbing through all day. And so the technology and things that we invest in is to help people get that time back in their day and accelerate that. And if we can do that, I feel like that's going to give us our edge over other platforms and continue to grow in that.
Marcus, is that something you consider when you're going about creating content? Music maybe is a little bit different, but when it comes to the digital visual elements that you're putting together, are you considering just the quickness of clips, the way we're consuming it, and, you know, as Kevin touched on, just the attention span of Gen Z overall?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I would say, you know, whenever you're trying to catch people's eyes and everything, like the first 30 seconds, like honestly, the first 10 seconds, I'm gonna be honest with you, like that's something, sound has to be great. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to images and stuff, like nowadays things can look good, but honestly, it's the sound. Like if the sound sounds good and everything like that, people would give the image, time, I will say. And, yeah, like it's just all about the storytelling aspect. You know, it might be to where, you know, you do want to build something up, but then again, you know, if you try to build something up, you better make sure it catches their eye right then and there. Cause after the first 20 seconds, they scrolling up to the next video. Like TikTok has had our kids in a chokehold. So ever since that, and Vine was before that. So, when it comes down to those like 20, 30 seconds, like it's so important. But as I'm doing content, you know, sometimes it might be to where I want people to catch this for a viral moment, or it might be storytelling. So it's not like I'm always like, hey, I need to have it 20 seconds, 30 seconds. It might be a storytelling, and the people that want to learn about it. And if your followers are, you know, long enough, like I said, like on YouTube and stuff, people are watching 25-minute videos still, if you know you're a true follower when it comes down to it. So it just all depends on your fan base and how you want to do it. But I will say, whenever I am doing reels or anything like that, like the first 30 seconds or 20 seconds is something that I'm always trying to catch their attention.
Michelle, where do you see the shift in content consumption heading, especially in the world of AI now?
Yeah. So, how many people, like, first of all, how many people have a TV in their house, but how many people watch like traditional cable and it's not sports? IDTV, like, I'm watching. What are you watching? Okay. But it's true, right? Like, so I don't even want to tell you what my cable bill is that we pay so much a month, and we literally maybe watch like one game. Everything else, and having an 18 and a 20-year-old, we literally watch no TV unless we're streaming on the TV. So we know that that's happening. That shift is happening. Big broadcast TV's trying to figure it out, and why they have huge digital platforms now that extend their broadcast moments. The other thing, and you're going to see, like, I don't even know where to find a basketball game now, because is it on Amazon Prime? Is it on TNT? Is it on ESPN? Is it like, where the hell is it? Okay, fine. But then when we're creating content on the back end, what I found so amazing, I was watching a piece of content. There's this Dr. Roll, who played football, then went back and got his neurosurgeon degree, which is crazy as hell. So now he's a neurosurgeon, and he's married to a dentist. Man, they're doing it. But I was watching Dr. Roll was interviewing somebody, and it looked so good. I was like, blah, blah, where's the studio? They were like, no, one guy was in Miami and Dr. Roll was where he was. And you literally could not tell they weren't in the same room. So now the whole business is changing. If you have a production company, you got to figure out what that looks like, because now with AI, I can cut up 1-minute video in 10 pieces in 5 seconds. I don't need a script writer, right? Because ChatGPT can write my script. Now I can shoot people in different places with this. I don't even know what the hell you were talking about, all that equipment with a iPhone. But when I tell you the business is moving so fast and AI is so smart now, I asked AI something. It was like, oh, hey, Michelle, don't worry about that, because it literally knew me. It was talking to me. I was like, what the heck is going on right now? It knows all my business, but this business is changing so much. And then finally, how do advertisers keep up with the change, right? Because now you see them advertising the Super Bowl, but where else? So they gotta find places. So there is such a huge opportunity for the next generation to really lean into technology, AI, and where brands are going to have conversations, because that 30-second commercial has died. The last thing I'll say, Do you know how long it takes for it to considered a view when someone watches it? It's like 5 seconds or less is considered a view. So I don't even have to watch it the whole time to monetize it and show a metric that someone's watched it. Like, we got to become students of this business because it's moving so fast, but it's such an opportunity to create generational wealth for our families if we understand it.
Kevin, how do you keep up with that evolution? Everything Michelle really just touched on, especially advertising, monetizing the streaming services that you offer?
I think if you're not using AI, your business is probably going to die. And I'm just, I hate to say it. And I don't think that there's a constant. We've been lucky enough to work with a company called Bitfire, and they've definitely changed the way that we've done production, worldwide. And I think that we've been a really big fan of the way that they work within our system. But I think where the biggest struggle from a company like ours, where we have productions all over the world, is I think I want to eliminate humans touching things. And at the highest form, the highest I can go in that is because this is the thing. Right now, we have productions where there are just camera operators and everything else is being done either remotely or it's being done just by AI. And I think if we can do that, one, from our business perspective, Olympic sports doesn't have the biggest audience all the time. Right. And I'm not ESPN. I'm not looking for 1 million people to be watching at a time. I'm looking for more of a volume play. And so within that, I have to find ways to cut down on the amount of people touching something, because those are costs racking up along the way, and make sure we're running a sustainable business here. And so I'm focused on, hey, can AI eliminate a person doing this? Right. And can we continue to do those things efficiently? Because that's the only way that this is going to thrive. Because the thing about Overnight is this: we're supporting Olympic sports all over the world, and they need our rights fees for those sports to be sustainable. And so if our company is not around because we're having so many people work on these productions, then that's Olympic sports that are dying. Like, you're seeing all over the country right now, we're eliminating swimming programs. We're eliminating this and we're eliminating that. And if companies like us are not around, then those sports go away a lot faster. And so that's a constant conversation that we're having. And so it does come back to, we're using these AI tools because it makes the entire process more efficient for everyone. And I think that's the heart of what we're trying to get to when it comes to AI.
Well, sticking with that, I know as a content creator and you're trying to create something original from scratch, maybe you don't want to utilize AI as much or lean into that. Is that a balance that you found yourself trying to navigate, Marcus?
Yeah, I would say, no, I definitely do use AI, work smarter, not harder in a way. I'm big about the situation of, quality over quantity too at the same time, because their situation is different from mine. So like when it comes down to me, like it might be to where, let's just say I post one time every Friday. But the thing is that if I do that, my fans will know that I'm consistently dropping at this time, at this day. And then as that time go on, you will build a fan base of like, okay, this is this. But I understand the situation of having a company and, using AI. Like even like with content creators, we might have something that's literally a 15-minute video. And I just seen Opus Clip. An Opus Clip is something that you could drag literally a 20-minute video and it'll chop up like 20 things of like 10 to 15 seconds. And now you got a 20-minute video that you could drop 10 to 15 clips for a whole month. So it's like, it depends on kind of how you want to do it. And it might be, let's just say a podcast or something. And you literally chop that up and now you got a month worth of, you ain't got to do anything. And it literally shows you from 90% to 70% or 80% what would be the most appealing to your fan base and things like that too as well. So having, brands and corporations like that here and not even knowing about them and everything, like those are the things that, content creators need to know about.
Well, as we wrap up here with 53 seconds on the clock, is there anything else that any of you would like to say before we wrap things up here?
You should walk over to Opus Clip and go get a brand deal.
Absolutely. I'll walk with you. Michelle, anything?
No, I just want to thank everyone for coming out. And if you haven't, follow Players TV on every single social platform. If you know an athlete and they want to grow their brand, want more people to know about their passion points, please reach out to me. I'm easy to find. I am Michelle G on Instagram, on LinkedIn, all those things. And it's been an honor to meet both of you guys.
For sure. No, I appreciate it. And then also, man, I will say, Marcus Jones Ocho on, Instagram. And then also I would say for speaking from the athlete's perspective, business has been something to where it's a kind of a sensitive subject for, us professional athletes. I will say that. Some guys and, women as well is something to where we've always been focusing on the sports aspect, and then the business side is something that we always need help with. I will say I'm a little further along than some of my colleagues and everything, but, I love to end up getting them in the rooms and, learning about things that's other than football, because sometimes whenever you're so invested into one thing, you think it will never go away. And just whenever you thought it would never go away, it goes away. So I will say definitely have patience with our athletes, man. We invest a lot of time into you guys as well, and we want to learn as time goes on. So that's something I definitely wanted to say. So I appreciate you guys and everything like that for today.
Well said. Well, Kevin?
I just wanted to say thank you guys for having me. And then I also wanted to say support Olympic sports and go to Overnight, Overnight with no I in the name. And I really appreciate you for having me.
Thank you guys so much, Michelle, Kevin, Marcus. It's been a pleasure. I've had so much fun talking to you guys, and I have learned a lot. I hope you guys did too. Thank you so much for coming.